Hari Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryan Karavavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchitananda Vigraha Anadiradir Govinda Sarva Karana Karanam Chintamani Prakara Sadma Sukalpa Vriksha Laksha Vriteshu Surabhira Vipalayantam Lakshmi Sahasra Shatasambrama Sevyamanam Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Venum Kvanantam Aravinda Dalaya Taksham Barahavatam Samasita Buddhasundarangam Kandarpakoti Kamaniya Vishesha Shobham Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Alola Chandra Kalasadvanamalya Vamshi Ratna Gadam Pranaya Keri Kalavilasam Shyamam Tribanga Lalitam Niyata Prakasham Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Angani Yasya Sakalendriya Vitimanti Pasyanti Panti Kalayanti Chiram Jaganti Ananda Chinmaya Sadujvala Vigrahasya Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Advaitam Achyutam Anadim Anantarupam Adyam Purana Purusham Navayauvanam Cha Vedeshu Durlabham Adurlabham Atma Bhaktau Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Pantastu Koti Satavatsara Sampragamyo Vayo Ratapi Manaso Munipungavanam Sopyasti Yat Prapadasimnya Vichintya Tattve Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Ekopya Saura Chaitum Jagadanda Kotim Yachaktirasti Jagadanda Chayaya Danta Andantarasta Paramanu Chayantarastam Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Yadbhava Bhavita Diyo Manujastataiva Samprapya Rupa Mahimasanayana Bhusha Shuktaryameva Nigama Pratitastuvanti Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Ananda Chinmaya Rasa Pratibhavitabis Tabirya Eva Nicharupataya Kalavi Goloka Eva Nivasatya Kilatma Bhuto Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Premanjana Churita Bhakti Vilochanena Santa Sadaiva Hridayeshu Vilokayanti Yam Shyama Sundaram Achintya Gunaswarupam Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Ramadi Murti Shukalani Yamena Tishtan Nanavataram Akarudbhuvaneshu Kintu Krishna Swayam Samabhavat Paramapumanyo Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Yasya Prabha Prabhavato Jagadanda Koti Kotishvashesha Vasudari Vibhuti Binam Tad Brahma Nishkalam Anantam Ashesha Bhutam Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Maya hi yasya jagadanda satani sute Traigunya tadvishaya veda vitaya manna Sattva valambi parasatvam vishuddha sattvam Govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami Ananda chinmaya rasatmataya manasu Ya praninam pratipalam smaratam upetya Lilaitena bhuvanani jayati ajashram Govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami Golokanamni nijadamni talecha tasya Devi mahesha haridama suteshu teshu Te te prabhava nichaya vihitascha yena Govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami Srishti stiti pralaya sadhana shakti reka Chayeva yasya bhuvanani vibhati durga Ichanurupam api yasya chachishtate sa Govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami Kshiram yatada divikara vishesha yogat Sanjayatena hitata pritakasti heto Yasambutam apitata samupaiti karyat Govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami Diparchireva hidasantaramabhupetya Dipayate vivrita hetu samana dharma Yastadrikeva hicha vishnu taya vibhati Govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami Yatkaranarnava jale bhajati sma yoga Nidramananta jagadanda saroma kupa Adara shaktim avalambya param svamurtim Govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami Yasyaika nishvasita kala matavalambya Jivanti loma vilaja jagadandanata Vishnur mahansa ihayasya kala visheshu Govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami Basvanyatasma sakaleshu nijeshu teja Sriyam kiyat prakatayatyapi tattva tatra Brahmaya esha jagadanda vidana karta Govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami Yat padapala vayugam vinidaya kumbha Dvandve pranama samaye saganadi raja Vignan vihantum alamasya jagatrayasya Govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami Agnir mahi gaganamambu maruddishascha Kalastatatma manasiti jagatrayani Yasmad bhavanti vibhavanti vishanti yamcha Govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami Yachakshuresha savita sakalagrahanam Raja samasta suramurti rashesha teja Yasyagyaya brahmati sambrita kala chakro Govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami Dharmo tapapa nichaya shrutayastapamsi Brahma vikita patagavadayascha jiva Yadata matra vibhava prakata prabhava Govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami Yastrendra gopamatavendra mahosva karma Bandhanurupa palabhajana matanoti Karmani nirdahati kintu cha bhakti bhajam Govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami Yam krodha kama sahaja pranayadi bhiti Vatsalya moha guru gaurava sevya bhavai Sanchintya tasya sadrishim tanumapurete Govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami Shriya Kanta Kanta Parama Purusha Kalpataravo Druma bhumischintamani ganamahi toyamamritam Kataganam natyam gamanam api vamshi priya saki Chitananda jyoti param apitat ashvadyam apicha Sayatra kshirabdi shavati surabhibhyascha sumahan Nimeshardakhyo vavrajati nahi yatrapi samaya Vajashveta dvipam tamahamiha golokamitiyam Vidantaste shantakshiti viralachara katipaye. Shri Shri Brahma Samhita ki jai. So I think the last time we finished with verse 47.
Yes.
Karanudakashai Vishnu Enananta Shesh. Today we continue with description of Karanudakashai Vishnu, text 48. I worship the Supreme Lord Govinda, whose first expansion is Mahavishnu, who determines the appearance and disappearance of the rulers within the universe, even Kshirodakashai Vishnu, by his exhalation and inhalation of breath. Purport: although enwrapped in mystic slumber, Mahavishnu wields power of the entire causal creation. Jiva Goswami says, quote, this verse shows that Mahavishnu, the maintainer of all the universes, is very different from his avatara, Kshirodakashai Vishnu, mentioned in verse 46. Just as the original Brahma and Shiva, described in verse 15, are distinct from their counterparts within the universe. Brahma describes Mahavishnu by describing him in relation to his Kshirodakashai Vishnu. To this Kshirodakashai Vishnu. The rulers of all the individual universes, Jagat Andanata, refers to the forms of Vishnu and other who remain visible in the universes for performing their duties. But Vishnu does not die. That is the meaning of Jivanti. Digdarshani Tika 548. So Karanudakashai Vishnu, although apparently sleeping in his Yoga Nidra, he is actually the ultimate controller, and everything is controlled by him. And here particularly we see how, one of the ways how it is controlled by him. Every exhale of Mahavishnu is the beginning of the life of the universes in the material world, and every inhale is the end of life of those universes. They enter back into the body of Karanudakashai Vishnu. And also the great rulers of those universes, although living practically eternally from our point of view, still their life is not eternal. And when the time comes for Vishnu to inhale, they also have to enter within his body together with these universes.
Even Brahma?
Even Brahma, even Shiva. But here there is a small point that Vishnu does not die, so he goes back to his previous origin, Garbhodakashai Vishnu, but he does not
He's the same person.
die, yes, as Brahma or Shiva. So Kshirodakashai Vishnu expands from the previous avatars of Vishnu, and from Garbhodakashai Vishnu. And Garbhodakashai Vishnu ultimately appears from Karanodakashayi Vishnu, who is outside of the universe. He exists before the universes to start to exist. And also it is mentioned that those Brahma and those Shiva expansions that exist within the universes, they also expand from the initial Brahma and Shiva who exist even before the beginning of existence of the universes. We already discussed this in the previous verses, that they are the prototypes demigods that exist together with Karanodakashayi Vishnu even before the creation of the universes. And once the universes are created, then their expansions enter into each and every universe. Now that different forms of Vishnu were discussed, some description of Lord Brahma is given. Text 49. Lord Brahma. I worship the Supreme Lord Govinda, who becomes Brahma, the creator of the universe, by bestowing his powers to that jiva. Just as the sun displays a small portion of its powers of heat and light in all the sunstones, Surya Kanta, which represents it. Brahma's position is shown to be different from any of the personalities mentioned so far, because he is a jiva. So generally Brahma, who is within the universe, is jiva, living entity. The most pious living entity is within a universe is chosen to take the post of Brahma. And sometimes if there is no enough qualified living entity, then Krishna personally may take this post. But generally, he does not, but he actually, with a small portion of himself, he enters this living entity, and in this way, empowering him to perform these high duties. This is what it is mentioned here. I worship the Supreme Lord Govinda, who becomes Brahma, the creator of the universe. So sometimes he becomes personally Brahma, but generally by bestowing his powers to that jiva. So he is empowering this living entity to be able to perform these amazing tasks of creating the universe, managing the universe. In those kalpas, when no eligible jiva is available, after the Brahma of the previous kalpa is liberated, Krishna, by the process of allotment of his own potency, creates the Brahma, who has the nature of the avatara, descent of the divinity. So Krishna becomes Brahma, takes this post personally. In the active mundane principle, Rajoguna. By principle, Brahma is superior to ordinary jivas, but is not the direct divinity. The fundamental significance of the above is that the aggregate of 50 attributes belonging to the jiva are present in a fuller measure in Brahma, who possesses in a lesser degree 5 more attributes which are not found in the jivas. But in Shambhu, both the 50 attributes of the jiva as also the 5 additional attributes found in Brahma are present in even greater measure than in Brahma. We have a note 25. Krishna's 5 transcendental qualities, which are partially manifested in Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva, are changeless, all-cognizant, ever fresh, Satchitananda, possessing an eternal blissful body, and 5th, possessing all mystic perfections. So the living entities, they have 50 qualities, but they don't don't possess them in a full extent. But Brahma, he possessed those 50 in fullest extent from all the jivas. And then there are another 5 qualities which are particularly mentioned in relation to Shiva. Brahma partially also have those 5, but Shiva have them in much fuller degree. So that's why he is considered on a different level. He is not just Jiva. Because we heard some of those qualities are like possessing Satchitananda, eternal blissful body, all cognizant, so conscious about the whole creation, the whole universe, so basically being like a Paramatma. So Brahma has this quality to some extent, Shiva has it much more. Paramatma has it completely. The qualities held by Narayan and up are, first, he has inconceivable potency. Second, uncountable universes generate from his body. So Brahma is not creating uncountable universes, neither Shiva, but Narayana is doing this. He is the original source of all incarnations. Everybody is coming from his body. He is the giver of salvation to the enemies whom he kills. So generally Brahma and Shiva, they don't give salvation to their enemies, but Narayan does. And fifth, he is the attractor of the liberated souls. Nectar of Devotion, chapter 21. So that was a note. So that was a verse describing Brahma and his position, how he is empowered from Krishna to perform the special activities of creation, second creation of the universe. And sometimes this position of Brahma can be taken directly from Krishna. Krishna expands as an avatar and takes this position. Text 50, Ganesha. I worship the Supreme Lord Govinda, whose lotus feet Ganesha fixes firmly upon the 2 bogos on his forehead when offering obeisances, in order to gain his powers to destroy all the obstacles in the 3 worlds. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur explains, the power of destroying all obstacles to mundane prosperity has been delegated to Ganesha, who is the object of worship to those who are eligible to worship him. He has obtained a rank amongst the 5 gods as Brahma, possessing mundane quality. The self-same Ganesha is a god in possession of delegated power by infusion of the divine power. All his glory rests entirely on the grace of Govinda. Brahma Samhita 550 purport. Further, Jiva Goswami adds, all people first praise Ganesha in order to remove all obstacles. Thus people may think that they must first praise Ganesha. This verse explains his actual position. This point is made even stronger by the words of Kapila given below. For if Shiva, Ganesha's father, takes the foot water of Vishnu on his head, then Ganesha's position will be even less. The blessed Lord Shiva becomes all the more blessed by bearing on his head the holy waters of the Ganges, which has its source in the water that washed the Lord's lotus feet. The Lord's feet act like thunderbolts hurled to shatter the mountain of sin stored in the mind of the meditating devotee. One should therefore meditate on the lotus feet of the Lord for a long time. That's an amazing verse. The Lord's feet act like thunderbolts hurled to shatter the mountain of sin stored in the mind of the meditating devotee. So the moment that we fixed the lotus feet of the Lord in our mind, all the sinful proclivities that are there, they will gradually disappear. That's why in the prayers of Ambarish Maharaj, in 9th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, he's saying that his devotional service started with focusing his mind on the lotus feet of the Lord. Savaimana Krishna Padaravindayor Vachamsi Gunanu Varnane Vaikunta Vachamsi Gunanu Varnane. First, he fixed his mind on the lotus feet of the Lord. Then he was using his words to describe the glory of the Lord. Karau Hari Mandiramarjanadishu. He used his hands to clean the temple of the Lord. Shrutim Chakara Chuta Satkatode. He used his ears to listen about the Lord. Mukunda Linga Laye Darshane Drishau. He used his eyes to perceive, to see the deities in the temple. Mukunda Linga, the form of Mukunda. Darshane Drishya. Tad Britya Gatra Sparshe Anga Sangamam. And he used his body to touch the bodies of the Lord's devotees. Gramam Chatat Padam Sarojjasaurabe. Shrimat Tulasya Rasanam Tadarpite. He used his nose to smell the flowers offered in the lotus feet of the Lord, and he used his tongue to taste the tulasis offered to the Lord. He used also his feet to go to the temples of the Lord. Padam Harikshetra Padanusarpane Shiro Hrishikesha Padavivandane. And he used his head to offer full dandavats to the Lord. Kamam Chadasye Natu Kama Kamyeya. He used his desires to desire to be servant of the Lord. Natu Kama Kamyeya. And not, he did not use his desires to desire sense gratification. Kamma Kamyeya.
That's very important, very interesting. We still have desires, but we transform them, we redirect them. It's not that we have to get rid of desires. And we have heard this many times, but it is interesting to realize, to start to understand and to realize what actually that means.
So yeah, generally we go a little bit more into the direction of ignoring the desires.
Yeah, either I will have desires for me, or if I cannot have desires for me, I won't have desires.
I will make them zero.
Yeah.
But it doesn't work like that.
That's karma and jnana.
Yes.
Boga tyaga.
Bhogatyaga, correct.
Icha dvesha.
And the middle is, yes, you understand you have desires, but you are purifying them by connecting them with Krishna, by using them for the pleasure of Krishna, like in the case of Ambarish Maharaj. So the whole point was that his whole service, physical service, started with fixing his mind on the lotus feet of the Lord. And for those devotees who are doing this, the Lord destroys the mountain of sin stored in their mind.
Real.
Amazing. So yeah, here we had this description of Ganesha, and Ganesha, it is said he has the power to destroy the obstacles. Especially here is mentioned about the mundane prosperity. But in the case of the devotees, Ganesha can bless them to get rid of the obstacles on the spiritual path.
In Nectar of Devotion there is a verse that devotee placed on the altar Ganapati.
Okay.
We don't follow this. We worship in Shingadev instead.
We worship Nrsimhadev instead of Ganesha. Why? Here it is said that Ganesha gets this power to remove all obstacles because the lotus feet of the Lord are fixed on his two parts of his head. Like if you see the elephants, their skull is kind of separated in two parts. So the two lotus feet of the Lord, they are there. That's why he has this power. But in some places actually it is said that the lotus feet of Lord Narasimhadev are fixed on his head. So that's why if he is getting his power to destroy all the obstacles from Govindaji or Narasimhadev, so instead of worshipping Ganesha, you can just straight go and worship Narasimhadev. That's the logic. But in any case, if he is going to destroy the obstacles on the spiritual path, or Krishna is going to destroy them, Ganesha, he is getting this power directly from Krishna. And that's why here it is said that he is empowered by the Lord. Without the empowerment of the Lord, he will not have this potency to be able to do that. But that's a good point. Like, when we have some obstacles in our spiritual path, we should go and pray to Lord Narasimha to destroy them. They are very beautiful prayers we can learn and we can use them. 7th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, 5th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, very beautiful and powerful prayers offered by Prahlad Maharaj. Devotee can just learn them by heart and offer them in praise of Lord Narasimhadev. Text 51. The 9 material principles. I worship the Supreme Lord Govinda, from whom the 3 worlds composed of earth, water, fire, air, ether, space, time, mind, and Atmas appear, by whom they continue their existence, and within whom they enter at the time of universal destruction. So all the elements, including the Atmas, the Jivas, they appear from the Lord, and when the annihilation of the universe comes, they go again within the body of the Lord. Purport. Within the Vedic pantheon are millions of demigods, each controlling a different aspect of the material phenomenon. According to this verse, Govinda is the Lord of them all, being the ultimate cause of their appearance, subsistence, and destruction. Therefore, it is also correct that all the elements and their deities are ultimately under the control of Govinda. So not only the elements are under the control of Govinda, but they are controlling deities as well. Text 52. Surya Dev, the sun god, the sun. This is a very beautiful verse. It's not given in Sanskrit, but anyway, we can say it. Ya chakshur esha savita sakala grahana raja samasta suramurti rashesha teja yasya gyaya brahmati sambrita kala chakro govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami. I worship the Supreme Lord Govinda, by whose command the sun, the king of all planets, moves in the sky, determining the cycles of time. The sun, endowed with profuse heat and light, reveals the world through his light, gives sight to the eye, and is the personification of all the devatas. Purport. Surya Deva is one of the functional deities within the scheme of Pancha Upasana. Therefore, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur writes, The certain professors of the Vedic religion worship the sun as Brahman. The sun is one of the hierarchy of 5 gods. Some people target in heat the source of this world and therefore designate the sun, the only location of heat, as the root cause of this world. Notwithstanding all that may be said to the contrary, the sun is after all only the presiding deity of a sphere of the sum total of all mundane heat, and is hence a god exercising delegated authority. The sun performs his specific function of service certainly by the command of Govinda. Brahma Samhita 552 purport. So again, the same point is stressed that all these different demigods, Brahma, Ganesha, Surya, they are not independent. Actually, they are empowered by the Lord to perform a certain functions in the creation. And that's why they should be worshipped as a subordinate to the Supreme Lord, if they are worshipped.
If they are worshipped at all.
If they are worshipped.
As in connection with Krishna, they should be seen as parts of the body of the Lord.
Not separated.
Of course, we're not even advised to worship them, but it is possible. There are examples like this in Bhagavatam. For example, Prithu Maharaj.
Or the gopis.
Yeah, these are the highest examples.
They worship goddess Durga with the desire to get Krishna as their husband.
Yeah.
Sometimes this is given as an example. Jiva Goswami quotes a verse from Shruti as evidence. Bishashmat vata pavate bishodeti suryaha. The wind blows out of fear of the Lord. The sun rises out of fear of the Lord. Taittiriya Upanishad 2:8. Sri Jiva also adds, as the sun is the eye of the universal form, as the deity of the eye, it empowers the eyes of the individuals of the universe with sight. The sun is also called Chakshu, eye, because it is the eye of the universal form. Yat Chakshu esha savita sakala grahanam. So from all these planets, the sun is considered the eye of the universal form, and Jiva Goswami is explaining, because this is the deity in power for sight, actually our sight is also coming due to the power of the sun. Without the sun, our eyes won't be able to work. The deity of the sun empowers our eyes to see.
And in Bhagavatam it is said that the devotees of the Lord, they give spiritual sight, spiritual vision, and the sun gives only material vision, and this only when it is on the horizon. So the devotees are even more powerful than the sun in this sense.
So they are also empowered, but they are empowered to give even higher vision than the vision the sun is giving. Yes. And also material vision that the sun is giving also depends on many circumstances. Like for example, if your eye does not work properly, although disability is given, still you cannot see. Let's say if someone has a cataract in front of his eyes, he cannot see properly, clearly. The spiritual vision is not...
it doesn't depend on this.
It does not depend on any material circumstances. Yes. Something else also interesting in this verse is that the sun moves in the sky determining the cycles of time. So by the movements of the sun, we actually determine the movements of the time. Because the time is anyway moving, but how we are going to understand that the time is moving? Well, by change of day and night, we understand this. We understand
Seasons.
How. Yes. And changing of day and night actually gives us other measurements of time. Like we have day and night, and we have week, we have month, we have seasons, we have years. So in this way we understand the time is moving along. And those who have spiritual vision, they understand, okay, that means I have to use my time to make spiritual advancement because time is moving.
Ayurharati Vaipum Sam. This famous verse.
Yes.
Explaining that the sun, with the sunrise and the sunset, diminishes the duration of life of everyone. Except for those who use their time to glorify the Lord. So, if you claim the time, then you lose the time by the movement of the sun. But rather, the movement of the sun is just an indication. It's just the eternal time. The eternal time is even independent from this movement of the sun. It's just the measurement. In the same way, the time is not dependent on the working of the watch. The time is independent from the watch, right? The watch depends on time.
Yes.
If the watch is broken, the time will still pass by, although the watch doesn't work.
That's a very, very nice point. I was also thinking about this, because here it is said that the sun determines the cycles of time. In a sense that the sun is showing us the cycles of
indicating.
Time. But actually, if you think about it, actually the cycle of time determines the movement of the sun.
Exactly.
Because the sun is not independent from the will of the Lord, which is represented through his energy of time.
Therefore there is this verse that because of fear of the Lord, the sun moves,
yes,
the rain falls,
exactly,
the wind blows, etc. Because of the time factor.
So the sun is not independent. In a sense, the sun cannot decide now, okay, I'll just make a break for 20 minutes. Just for 20 minutes I'll stay in one place. No, cannot, because it's dependent on the Kala Chakra, on the supreme will of time, which is already
Sudarshan.
Yes, which is already moving the whole
vision
universe.
Of the Lord, because the sun is the eye of the universal form, but the original vision of the Lord is Sudarshan.
Okay. So from this perspective, we can say that the sun rises out of fear of Sudarshan, in a sense.
Yeah. Of course, they are devotees. Fear doesn't mean that they are fearful, but they are obedient servants of the Lord, and they have love for the Lord also. But they are in this mood that this is my master, I'm a servant. So there is always little element of fear in the servant, but it's not this bad, material, mundane fear. There is love behind it. It's affection, love for the Lord.
Nice. Okay, so that was description of the sun god Surya Dev. Text 53, the source of all power. I worship the Supreme Lord Govinda, by whom all acts of piety and sin, knowledge and liberation, all practices to attain liberation, as well as all living beings, including Brahma, insects and birds, are endowed with particular potencies to produce particular effects. Purport. We have learned up until now that Govinda is master of the demigods. Is there anything outside of his control? What then can be said of the powers existing in all other things? Their powers must all arise from Govinda. Gita says, Aham sarvasya prabhavo mata sarvam pravartate. I'm the source of everything. Due to me, everything operates. Bhagavad Gita 10:8. From Brahma to the glowworm and all 84 lakh species in between, any display of powers is simply a glimmer of the Lord's energy. So everything comes from Krishna. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur explains, every one of them is endowed with distinctive powers as individuals and is powerful in a particular sphere. But these powers are by their nature not fully developed in them. The degree of power and nature of prosperity vary according to the measure of manifestation of the possessions of the individual conferred upon him by Shri Govinda. So the amount of empowerment Krishna gives to each living entity, this living entity shows particular powers and empowerment in some sphere of life. So nobody is independent. Everybody is completely independent from the Lord. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur explains that even the process of elevation for the living entities, Varna Dharma, Ashrama Dharma, Tapasya, study of Shruti, bear fruit only by the Lord's mercy. So everything is possible only by Govinda's mercy. And then the last text for today. And tomorrow we will continue with text 55. Text 54. Govinda favors his devotees. That's one of my favorite verses from Brahma Samhita. I worship the Supreme Lord Govinda, who bestows to the red beetle and to Indra their experience of happiness and distress as an appropriate response to their actions, and who destroys the karmic results for those who practice bhakti.
So he's just detached. He gives proper measurement of happiness and distress to all, but he's attached and biased towards his devotees.
Little bit.
But this is not a fault of the Lord, this is actually ornament of the Lord.
Ornament, the beauty of the Lord. Yes.
So he's just to everyone. Nobody can say you are unjust. No, he gives proper measurement. He's just namedveshyusti na priyaha. Still, yabhajanti tumam bhaktya maiti teshu chapyaham.
Yeah. You can say still this is also just because they approach him.
Yeah.
And Krishna is saying, Yeya tamam prapadyante tam statayo bhajami aham. Because they approach me in a personal way, I reciprocate in a personal way.
Yeah, the rest, they don't approach him personally. They just want to perform their duties.
They want to use the energies of the Lord.
Yeah.
And if they use them properly, there will be consequences. If they not use them properly, there will be another.
Yeah, they know the rules, so they know. So it's just like if you have a boss or the owner of the company, if you just go there and work 8 hours,
you get your salary.
You get your salary and that's it. If you are late sometimes, or if you do something improper, there will be some sanction.
Yes.
And if you work extra hours, there will be extra money. But that's what you'll get. Because your goal is just to get some money, paycheck at the end of the week. But let's say if you want to develop personal relationship with the owner,
it's a different story.
It's a different story. Yeah, then you go into different category altogether. Yes. Then you may get so many things.
Sometimes you may go early from job and still you'll be paid for 8 hours of job.
Yes.
Or sometimes you may come late and nobody will tell you anything.
Yeah.
Because of the personal relationship, yes.
Because you become friend of the big guy. And then you get so many benefits that the other workers don't. You come to know the guy, you spend time with him, he invites you to his house, he introduces you to his family. You become part of the scene.
Yes.
Nobody from your co-workers has any idea how the house of the boss looks, what actually he likes to do in his spare time, what are his passions in life, but you know. And this gives you advantage.
It's a personal relationship.
Yeah.
Yes. The previous verses alluded to the great variety of living entities struggling in material existence. Are they all doomed to suffer? Quote, the Supreme Lord should be regarded like the rain, which spreads showers everywhere. Thus the Lord is unprejudiced in dispensing appropriate karma to the jivas. But at the same time, Govinda favors his devotee. That is explained in this verse. I am equal to all living beings. I do not hate anyone, nor do I favor anyone. But those who worship me with devotion are in me, and I am in them. Bhagavad Gita 9:29. Then another quote. But I carry the burden of supply and maintenance of those who desire constant association with me, and who, thinking only of me, worship only me.
Yoga, this is Yoga Kshema Bhagamyaham.
Yes. Bhagavad Gita 9:22. So Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj says, God impartially induces the fallen soul to act in the way that is consequent of the deeds of their previous births, and to enjoy the fruition of their labors. But out of his great mercy to his devotees, he purges out by the fire of ordeal the root of all karma. Nescience and evil desires. So Krishna is destroying all this between the devotees.
By the fire of ordeal. Purging.
Karma, though without beginning, is still perishable. So the karma doesn't have beginning.
It is anadi, but it is
but
not eternal.
There is an end. There is an
The
end.
example is something did not exist in the past. For eternity, it did not exist. But at one point, somebody created it, and now it exists. So in the same way, something that existed since time immemorial may cease to exist. So it is logical that the karma is eternal. Although eternal means that it nobody can. I mean, we cannot trace back the beginning of this karma because it is beyond time. But Krishna knows when and how this happened. Prabhupada explains very clearly in one purport. So it is not anadi, beginningless in absolute sense. Because we did fall down from the association of the Lord, at least from potential association of the Lord, where we had the opportunity to associate with Him. Yes. And another thing is that Krishna, somebody may say, well, why the devotees are putting the burden of their maintenance to the Lord? Isn't it selfish? Then Krishna explains, no, it's a pleasure for me. It's not actually a burden. It is just like
a father who takes care of
the father takes care of the
children.
child. The mother carries the son. You can say it is, or a bright, beautiful girl has so many ornaments, golden ornaments. They may be a little heavy, but for her it is not a burden.
It's a burden of love.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes. Nice. The karma of those who work with the hope of enjoying the fruits of their labors becomes everlasting and endless and is never destroyed. The function of sannyas is also a sort of karma befitting an ashrama and is not pleasant to Krishna when it aims at liberation, desire for emancipation. They also receive fruition, yeah, I'm not sure how to pronounce. Fruition of their karma. And even if it be disinterested, their karma ends in Atma Mamata, self-pleasure. But those who are pure devotees always serve Krishna by gratifying his senses, forsaking all attempts of karma and jnana, and being free from all desires save that of serving Krishna. Krishna has fully destroyed the karma, his desires and nations of those devotees. It is a great wonder that Krishna, being impartial, is fully partial to his devotees. It is a great wonder that Krishna, being impartial, is fully partial to his devotees. Brahma Samhita 554. So everybody who is in the material world should get the reactions of his previous activities, with exception of the pure devotees.
So the thing is a little bit like this. The parent, Prabhupada gives this example, the parent may take care of many children. Let's say his friends, his colleagues, they're busy, so all their children are put under the care of one person. So he's taking care of all of them. But his child is also there. So he gives just proper attention to everyone. But he keeps his freedom, that to his child he'll give a little bit more. So he's not unjust to anyone, because whatever it is expected from him, he gives. On the proper time, the proper way, the proper mood.
Yes.
But he's a person, and if God is a person, he must be partial towards his devotees. Otherwise, we render him impersonal. No, he must be. Because there is a personal relationship there. And with other children, he doesn't have. Why? Because they don't want. So he respects their choice, and he doesn't interfere, he doesn't impose himself. So it's perfectly logical. It should be like this. That's the only way the reality should be.
Yes. A personal solution for a personal relationships.
Therefore, bureaucracy doesn't really work on a
because it's not one or the other. It's not either you're partial to everybody or you're impartial to everybody. No, both at the same time. Personalities who are acting with you in a impartial way, you are also impartial with them. But those who are partial towards you, you are naturally partial towards them. So it's...
And that's the thing, not at the expense of anyone else.
Yes.
No, everybody gets what they deserve.
But devotees, they get even more.
But the devotees, they get... Somebody can say, well, they're getting more than they deserve. Well, just like the story of the Bible. No, you wanted this. You wanted money from the boss. You get the money from the boss. You sign the contract. That's what you get. So somebody else, because he put personal element and personal affection, he's getting more. Don't be envious. You get what you deserve. You get what you wanted. And somebody else get more. Well, you cannot say this is unjust, because what is justice? It is the pleasure of the Lord, and He decides. So it's not unjust, it is not anything bad, it is just natural consequence of the personal relationship. God is a person, if He is a person, that's the consequence. You please the person, you advance. You displease the person, even if you're the greatest scholar, you don't attain liberation, never.
Yes, I agree. Okay, so tomorrow we'll continue with text 55.
Jai.
Om Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Shri Prabhupada ki jai, Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Nitai Gaura Premanande.